Hi, Dr. Yass here. I want to discuss an issue that, as far as I'm concerned, is completely ignored by the medical establishment when trying to identify the cause of your pain. Typically, if you have pain, you seek care, they do an x ray or MRI, they find a structural variation that becomes the cause of your pain, and all treatments following are based on that diagnosis. But what I have found over the past 28 years, treating thousands of people, is the fact that people seem to be able to connect the increase in symptom or initiation of the symptom with performing an activity. So the average person, when they come to me and I'll ask them where their pain is, and then I'll say, can you associate something that makes the pain worse or brings it on? And they'll say something like, oh, I get groin pain if I walk downstairs or walk upstairs. I get knee pain if I'm standing too long. I get hip region pain or back pain if I'm sitting in my car too long. Oh, I get ankle pain or knee pain if I'm kneeling down. Oh, I get pain at my arm if I'm playing tennis or if I'm gardening. Oh, I get neck pain if I'm sitting at the computer too long. And what do you hear in all of these descriptions is that they're saying that when they perform a task or an activity, the pain either increases or begins with that activity. So if you go back to the core principle that pain is an indication of a tissue in distress, that the idea is that there is a tissue that's not functioning properly and it's emitting a pain to create conscious awareness of the distress of the tissue, so you'll get an intervention to resolve the distress of that tissue, thereby ending the tissue's need to elicit the emergency signal of pain. If you recognize that's the concept, then the key to ending the symptom is ending the distress of the tissue. So you got to figure out what tissue it is. Well, if you have associated your symptom with performing an activity or task, I really don't see any other way from just a logical perspective, forget medical, just pure logic, that the tissue in distress must be a muscle. How could you not see that? I know that you're going to go to the medical system typically, and they're going to point out some structural variation found on a diagnostic test like X-ray or MRI. But think of the logic. So you say, "Oh, if I go upstairs, I get knee pain." But if I'm not going upstairs, I don't have knee pain. And they point to a meniscal tear and they say that's the cause of your pain. So think of the logic, how insane this is. So are they saying that when you go upstairs, you have a meniscal tear, but if you're standing or sitting and you don't have pain, you don't have the meniscal tear? The meniscal tear begins as you walk up the stairs and then stops when you stand or sit down. Does someone really think this is true? Or let's say, oh, I have lower back pain if I stand too long, but if I sit down, the pain goes away. So you're told that the MRI found stenosis, and that's the cause of your pain. So you're saying you have stenosis when you're standing, but you have no stenosis when you're sitting. So the stenosis has the ability to grow and decrease based on standing or sitting. That's incredible. Stenosis simply means narrowing of the space between the vertebrae. So the narrowing increases dramatically when you stand, but somehow decreases or goes away when you sit. Does anyone see the lunacy in this? My God, I hope you do. So when you're playing tennis or something like that, and you have shoulder pain, but then you rest and you don't have pain, but the X-ray or MRI showed that you have an arthritic change in your shoulder or a labral tear. Let me make sure I get this correctly. The arthritis exists while playing the tennis, but when you rest, the arthritis disappears. Or the labral tear is the labral tear while you're playing, but then when you stop playing, you don't have a labral tear. Let's try to wrap our heads around any sense of logic. And logic would say that if you're being told that a structural variation is causing your pain, and that structural variation should exist 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then you should have pain 24 hours, 7 days a week. But if you tell me that you have pain with activity, and then when you rest, you don't have activity, you don't have pain, clearly it's associated with the activity, and the tissue performing the activity is muscle. Let's come on. Let's start thinking for ourselves, because sure as shit, you're not going to get this information from the structural variation people like orthopedists and neurologists. They're only educated or trained to look at an X-ray or MRI and say, that doesn't look the way it used to. I would like to make it look the way it used to by performing surgery. Will you allow me to make it look the way it used to? They're not saying to you, well, let's try to understand why you're only having your pain with activity, but then you don't have it when you rest. That's not part of their curriculum. I'm providing this information for you to digest so that you can begin to make sense of what's causing your pain and establish what tissue's in distress. Quite simply, if you associate your symptom with performing an activity or task, it's muscle. End of story. If you can't find somebody in the medical establishment to agree with that or to help you resolve your pain based on that understanding, I suggest you come to the Yass method, schedule a Yass method Zoom session, get the right understanding through a proper physical evaluation, forget the diagnostic test, confirm that it's muscle, make sure you understand which muscles they are, make sure you understand how to perform the proper exercise, make sure you understand how to utilize progressive resistance so that you could strengthen the muscles to the point at which their force output is greater than the force requirement of your activities, and voila, you are pain-free and fully functional. You're able to do your activities without symptoms. Hopefully this makes sense. It's just one of innumerable issues that don't seem to be addressed by the medical establishment, and yet seem quite logical in understanding these things if you're ever to identify the tissue in distress eliciting your symptoms. You got to connect your symptoms, your body's presentation, to the tissue creating it. And if the body is saying, yeah, I get pain when I do activity or a task, it's saying the muscle that's responsible for the pain is saying, I'm telling you, you only have your symptoms with the activity or the task. It's me, muscle. Try to understand that, then help me get strong enough to do the activity or the task without symptom, and you're going to have the life you choose, pain-free and fully functional. All right. If you like this video and it makes sense to you, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my YouTube channel, Dr. Mitchell Yass, please subscribe to get notifications when new videos are added or when I'm live on YouTube. If you want to contact me, you could do so at drmitch@mitchellyass.com. If the idea of finally ending your pain and dysfunction and you'd like to move forward by getting a Yass Method Zoom session, you could do so by going to my website, livewithoutpains.com/sessions. Livewithoutpains, it's plural.com/sessions. This will be in the description below. All right, folks, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep getting this information out there one by one. I'm slowly picking you off, getting you out of the medical system, getting you to the Yass method, and giving you the chance to be pain-free and fully functional. Let's keep it going. For now, this is Dr. Mitchell Yass wishing you a pain-free, fully functional life. Bye-bye for now.